In 1959, 9 hikers headed into the northern Urals for a winter trip, and somehow, that trip became this mystery. A few days later, searchers found their tent damaged, empty, and surrounded by tracks leading away into the snow outside. This time, we're in the Ural Mountains, following the same trail where this case starts getting seriously weird. Oh, by the way, hi, welcome back, or welcome if you're new. I'm Sophie, and I dig into strange cases like this, and come along with me. So, I know the crazy theories are tempting, but before we go there, we need to start with their route. So I'm standing where this all started. Just a normal hiking trip, at least that's what it was supposed to be. And honestly, from here, it doesn't look mysterious yet. Just snow, trees, rough weather, and a trail that slowly gets harder. The weird part is, they weren't beginners. These were experienced hikers, and this trip was supposed to be tough, but normal. So this started as a normal winter expedition, led by young hikers who were trained, prepared, and used to difficult routes. From here, this does not look like people walking blindly into danger. They had a plan, they had a gear, and they had experience. So the real question is, what changed? The early details are actually pretty normal. Maps, food, winter kit, and a route they seemed ready for. That's why I don't want to start with the wildest theory. I want to start with what they knew. Evidence shows they moved farther north, past the last bits of normal life, into places where help was getting further away. I'm following that shift now. People, villages, smaller tracks, and then suddenly it is just open winter around us. Their last normal notes matter because they show routine. Nothing here screams panic yet, and that makes it stranger. So this is our first anchor point. They were prepared, they had a route, and this started as a normal trip. Now we follow that route, because the further they went, the less ordinary this story becomes. As they moved higher, the trees started dropping away, and out here, wind and snow can change everything really fast. I'm on the approach route now. Look behind me, shelter disappears really fast once the ground opens up like this. This is why a map only tells you so much. Standing here, you can feel how exposed this route gets. The weather, the slope, the distance, none of it looks dramatic alone, but together it starts closing in. Higher they went, the fewer good options they had. Turning back, stopping, pushing on, none of it was simple. Look ahead. The path doesn't look dramatic at first, it just looks open, exposed, and really hard to read. And that matters because soon, the tent becomes the first place where we can really pin the story down. So now I'm asking, why stop here? Why put the tent on this slope on this night? I'm taking you to that spot now because once we reach the tent, everything starts getting a lot stranger. I'm at the tent spot now. Look behind me, almost no cover, and the tree line is way farther than it feels. Imagine night falling here. Your tent isn't cozy anymore, it's basically the only thing you have. Inside, ordinary stuff would become important evidence later, because it shows what they left behind when they moved out. This is the detail I keep getting stuck on. What stayed in the tent? And why did leaving suddenly make sense? There are only a few things we can really hold on to here, so I want to keep them in the right order. For me, it's tent first, gear inside, then the walk away. If we mess up that order, everything gets messy. Reports describe damage to the tent, which tells us there was urgency, but it does not answer everything. So I'm trying not to overread it. Something pushed them out, yes, but the tent alone can't explain everything that night. To understand what happened next, we have to switch perspective. Not the hikers now, but the people who found the scene.
So after the tent, the story shifts. Now we're looking at the people waiting for them to come back.
When a group is overdue somewhere this remote, when does worry turn into an actual search?
Usually when the silence stops feeling normal. You still know very little, but you cannot just keep waiting.
The search had to work step by step. Route, camp area, then the tent. Otherwise, you miss what actually matters. Finding the tent should have helped. Instead, it opened the part of the case people still cannot agree on. I'm at the tent point again, and this is where every tiny detail starts feeling almost too important. Before people start building theories, what would you actually document first at a scene like this?
First, you lock down position, weather, contents, tracks, and timing. That order keeps the scene from becoming guesswork.
That is why I keep slowing us down. If we rush to theories, we lose the order of what was found. So let's follow it properly. Start with what was inside the tent, then move outward into the snow. Inside were the things you would normally grab first: boots, coats, and gear for surviving that kind of cold. This is where I pause, because leaving without gear is not just odd. Out here, it changes everything. The damaged tent tells us they needed out fast. But it still does not tell us what pushed them. For the next clue, if not inside anymore, it's right outside, in the snow, where the footprints begin. I'm following the track line now. It goes away from the tent, not back toward the easy way out. That still does not explain why they left, but it does show the direction they chose next. Once you follow the line downhill, the story becomes easier to track, but not easier to explain. Look how far we are now. Without boots, coats, or shelter, this distance stops being just distance. Now the trees matter. They are not background anymore. They are the next place that someone might try to survive. Let's go there, because once we reach the trees, this stops feeling like a puzzle on paper. Near the tree line, the evidence changes. This is where you start seeing attempts to stay alive. I'm at the trees now. Up there was the tent. Down here, the whole question changes. Look back up the slope. You can still see where they came from, but getting back would be brutal. This is where it stops feeling like a mystery board and starts feeling like people running out of time. If you find a small fire trace here, what does that tell you and what can't it tell you?
It tells you someone was still trying. Fire takes effort, especially when you are cold and losing options.
That part gets me, because even if there was panic, there were still choices happening down here. Tent, tracks, trees. That is the chain every theory has to deal with, whether it sounds exciting or not. So now we can test the theories, but against this chain, not against the loudest story online. I'm back at the desk now, because this is where theories can get messy really fast. My rule is simple. If a theory skips the tent, the tracks, or the trees, I don't trust it. An attack theory might sound intense, but it still has to explain why the route looks the way it does. I'm not adding violence just because the story feels scary. Scary is not the same thing as proven. Animals, strange lights, secret tests, panic, every version has to pass the same basic route test. Some theories explain why the story feels creepy. Fewer explain how the group actually moved through the snow. In a case with this many gaps, how do investigators decide which explanation is actually stronger?
The stronger explanation covers more facts with fewer guesses, and it is honest about what remains unknown.
That brings us to the version that feels least flashy, but Navy explains the most. Weather, snow, and timing. A snow explanation does not need a giant movie avalanche. Smaller pressure can still scare people and force fast choices. So the real question is simple. Could fear, cold, and exposure push them out quickly enough to match the route? I'm back at the pass, because this is where the story still feels open, even after everything we followed. I would not call it solved. I would say we understand the path a little better than before. What stays with me is not just the weird details. It is how quickly normal choices became impossible ones. That is why I do this. Follow the evidence, test the stories, and remember there were real people here.